Well, let's get into the papers. Let's talk about the latest that the papers have to deliver. We'll be joined also by Suleiman Abrahima, Executive Director for the West Africa Media Foundation for West Africa. And we'll be getting into the rest of the papers here as well. But let's quickly do this. Let's have a bit of a reflection on the NPP's regional elections. Picture of our democracy? Is that a snapshot of who we are as a people? I was just sharing with some colleagues before I came here on air that whether NDC or NPP, I mean, EIU reports in the past and other things that, come year after year point to the fact that people in political circles are becoming more and more interested in pumping money. But the question is, what do they get in there? For which reason? If you are coming to serve, why would you want to pay your way to service? It doesn't happen in other jurisdictions, Ghana for. So if it's happening here, it must mean there is something in leadership, whether at the constituency level, regional level, even down to the grassroots, the NDC will call it the branch level and all of that. Whether as a minister, whether as a member of parliament, why are they willing to pump so much money into the enterprise? You're reflecting too, right? It's because of the chop. The chop. I've said it. That is it. And so you would hear of people giving out cars. Yeah, you heard me right. A car, a truck, and all of that. People are doling out money. In the Ashanti region at the Baba Yara Stadium, we had someone, offering libation or invoking curses on anybody who may, participate in certain things or do certain things. We have a long way to go as far as our democracy is concerned because our politicians, those in political circles, are having a field day. And when they do these things, you can guarantee they will be corrupt because they must recoup those sums of money. And guess where they're going to be recouping them? From the contracts, from the contributions you and I make. They dip their hands into state coffers and things that should come to us. Health facilities, road infrastructure, other kinds of infrastructure, better service we do not get. We're one of the countries with the most expensive when it comes to, phone calls, data, and all of that. Yet, what kind of service do we get? Recently, the BBC had, a bit of a piece that they put out. And Ghana we are practically the most expensive country in Africa and likely on the planet. It's absurd, isn't it? You look at the living standards in a place like New York in the United States and reflect on that, juxtapose that with what we have here. It's sickening. I mean, Ghanaian leaders, we can do better than this. Anyway, my quick thoughts for you as we usher in a beautiful Monday. Sometimes I get exasperated. And sometimes, I get people telling me, Charlie, avoid some of these subjects because, this and that. But Obianka, so and a country broke, country no broke, we day inside. It be so. Suleimana, I see you in the background. A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you, Ben.
I don't know, I've been going on and on about, some of the happenings as far as the recent elections, regional elections of the NPP. And yes, peace, calm, mostly, predominantly, which is a good thing. But the bit about money and politics is getting worse. And I was asking, I don't know whether you heard me before you came on, why would people be willing to expend so much in terms of resources just to get a position to serve the people? It's because of what is in there. It's because of what they will get. And we're just creating a vicious cycle of corruption. I'm sure you followed. Saloon cars, trucks, money being doled out just to get votes. So that's the story in the Daily Graphic. The banner headline, NPP Regional Elections, 12 chairmen retain positions, new faces for Bono East, Eastern and Western North. But your quick reflection, even before I get into the details of the story.
Well, it's good that the elections have been conducted largely peaceful, even though we hear or we heard about a few incidents in certain places. To a large extent, I think that it was quite peaceful. And I would just want to say congratulations to those who won and better luck to those who couldn't make it. Better luck for them next time.
Or
Of course,
should we say, Suleimana, better cash for them next time? Maybe with the right resources, they'd be able to cross the line.
well, well, the truth is that our politics is just a money-making venture. So those who go into politics, basically what they are doing or what they are saying is, I'm going to look for money if my party wins. And those who are in power, it's about how much wealth they can amass. We all see what the late Sir John, had been able to acquire within the short period of time that he was given the political position. I don't think that anyone can say before he became the CEO of Forestry Commission, he had no house or something like that. But we're talking about, if you look at the houses and when they were acquired, 2017, 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, 2019. And I believe that if he was still alive, perhaps we would have seen additional houses, maybe additional forest reserves, and so on and so forth acquired. And people have said, look, if this is what Sir John made, then there are others whose will look as fat as the Bible or the Quran. And so it's just money making. And those who are there, young or old, know that I am going in or I'm into this to make money. It's no longer about serving the country. I don't think that any of our leaders today is really committed to serving our country. If it were the case, I don't think that we would have been seeing the kind of things that we see today. If President Akufo-Addo was indeed committed, to serving this country in the best of interests, I don't think he would go and be demolishing houses to construct a cathedral. I don't think that the levels of corruption that we are seeing, we would see it the way it is now. I don't think that we will have a minister outside the country for 8 months and still hold on to her position as minister, and a crucial ministry as that of women, children, and gender, social protection. So I think it's more about the enjoyment of the power, enjoyment of the money that comes with it, the opportunity to be able to amass wealth and all of that. And so those who are happy, they deserve to be happy. It's an opportunity for them to make as much as they can make. Those who are sad because they couldn't make it, I think they are justified in being sad, because that's a major loss in terms of how much they could come to make. And that is the politics that we have for our country. And that is why I keep saying, those of us who are relatively young, we do have a responsibility to come together, work together, to make this our country better. I don't think that the betterment of this country is about just a continuous cycle of replacing NDC with MPP, MPP with NDC. We've seen both parties, and I think it's all about making money. And we know people in the NDC who were, occupying certain positions, and suddenly the houses they have, the properties they have, and so on. So there's nothing different between them and the MPP, except that some of us had hoped that President Akufo-Addo, given his track record and his stature and what we were made to believe about him, would have offered us different leadership. But it appears that somehow it's even getting worse.
Well, getting into the details of the story, after 3 days of suspense, drama, tension, and surprise-filled elections, 12 incumbent regional chairmen of the NPP retained their positions after the party's regional delegates conference. However, the incumbent chairman in the Bono East and the Western North regions could not maintain their positions. In the Eastern region, the incumbent chairman did not seek re-election, and a new face emerged. So look at the Bono East region, look at Western North, where the incumbents lost their positions. In the Eastern region, the incumbents stepped aside. And so in those three regions, we have new faces. And there's also the bit about the central region, which is outstanding due to a court injunction. So those who have been retained, very quickly, Divine Otuagohom for the Greater Accra region, Bernard Enchibuesiako, aka Chairman Wuntumi in Ashanti, Nuruddin Fusaini in the northeast, Anthony Namo Upper East, those are the ones retained. There's also Kwabna Owusu Setre in Ahafo, Mohammed Adam Bantema Samba in the northern region, Idris Sulemana in Savannah, Kwame Bafo, aka Abronye in Abono. There were some claims that maybe the NDC was trying to support his main opponent to get him out. True or not, well, Abronye actually won in Bono. The rest are Makafu Iwanya in the Volta region. There's Evans Yaudapa in Oti, Sambai Kangbere in the upper west. And so those are some, and it's particularly interesting in the upper west situation with Kangbere, because he had said that he had failed in delivering some of the things that he had promised, but that he wanted a second term to do it. A pretty elderly fellow. And it appears the people bought into the message and gave him a second chance. So details there on that story. There's also channel idle funds into Africa's development. President Akufo-Addo tells wealthy nations. And also on the same page, page 16, Urban Roads introduces secure drain covers. Interesting reading that, I mean, makes quite, it gives you a lot of food for thought, isn't it? 21st century, we still have very narrow gutter systems and no coverings. But let's quickly take a look at those two stories and have Suleimana react to them. Channel idle funds into Africa's development. President Akufo-Addo tells wealthy nations. And he has called on wealthy economies to rechannel a portion of their special drawing rights, SDRs, sitting with the International Monetary Fund, to Africa to help fight hunger and food insecurity. It will also augment health provision in the face of the challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russo-Ukrainian war. On the other end, Urban Roads has introduced secure drain covers, and the Department of Urban Roads, that is the DUR, has embarked on an exercise to replace existing drain covers with newly designed metal grids which cannot be removed easily. According to the DUR, the new steel grid covers currently being piloted in Accra would be replicated in other parts of the country. Now, here's why. Wanton theft of metal drain covers in the national capital, which is blamed on the scrap metal market, has been posing a danger to motorists and pedestrians. You go through some places, it's been taken off. If you're driving and the place is a little flooded, you don't know, your car gets damaged, or you as an individual could fall into it because you can't even see the space. Suleimana, your reflection on these two. The president says, channel your funds that you're not really using in the coffers of the IMF to Africa. That's what he says. Your thinking?
Well, I think that is a good appeal, is a welcome appeal. Of course, we all want a better world. We want a better country, and we would wish that every country is doing so well. People are living in good conditions. People's welfare is improved. Unfortunately, I get quite worried about, again and again, I will talk about leadership. We've seen money and money and money come in, and what have we used it for? In the course of last week, I had the opportunity to meet a number of people from other countries, from countries that we would describe as wealthy countries. And the point consistently they make is that, look, we are here and we see your ministers and your government appointees live in luxury better than appointees and ministers in our country. Meanwhile, we give aid, we give grants, we give loans to your country. Why so? And I'm like, well, maybe it's the mentality. And also because we haven't had a leader who really wants to transform this country and therefore would put our resources into better use. If we are asking that wealthy countries should make available more to African countries, yes, it's a good call. During COVID, wealthy countries made available significant amounts of money into our country. What did we see? We saw contracts being awarded for needless spraying, and these contracts some of them awarded by the presidency. The same president who is urging that more resources be made available. When more resources was made available, what did we see? We saw fumigation contracts, needless. We all knew this was not going to do anything, but just so that people will make money, we awarded fumigation contracts to a company, and to fumigate in districts where there were available equipment to do the same kind of job. Is it what we want the foreigners to bring their money for us to use it for? The World Bank made available hundreds of millions of dollars during COVID. What happened? We knew very well that we were claiming that we were providing hot meals and so on and so forth. It was an avenue to loot from the people, to loot from the state. I mean, what was that whole essence of saying that we are preparing, meals and put them in takeaway packs to distribute to people? How many people could you reach, and for how long could you provide that kind of service? We knew it was a way to loot from the state. So for me, until we are able to be genuine in our commitment to develop this country and know that, look, as a human being, what am I going to use 100 houses for? What am I going to use Achimota Forest for? What am I going to use Ramsar site for? What am I going to use these houses I'm acquiring in East Legon and in Cantonments and in Rage and so on and so forth for? There are people who are donating to this country who may perhaps own just one house and maybe a small vehicle. But here, one person wants to own everything, and yet we would still be saying that, oh, send us more, send us more. When people are living in poverty, we see women carrying loads on their heads within the traffic lights, selling, ministers, we see them, and so on. So for me, I really wonder when people talk like this, whether they think the people they are speaking to don't know, how corrupt we are and how abusive we are with the resources that are made available to us. So yes, it's a good call, but I don't think that under our current circumstances, even if billions were to be made available, we would see any transformation. It would just go into people's pockets, and people would want to acquire houses in the US, in the UK, and we would want to even collateralize, what should be there for the future generation.
I wish sometimes. So two things. I wish sometimes that the West would do us a lot of justice, like we have seen with Yahya Jammeh, a house worth $3.5 million confiscated in the United States. Hopefully, it could be sold and the resources, acquired from there, given to the state of Gambia. If such things were done, we know Asamesi has this property in the UK, in France, and all of that. We also know Asamesi's salary. Asamesi, come to France, justify. How did you come by these resources? You are not able to justify. We auction the property, we sell it, send the money. I don't know, but it may also be, it may have no effect because the same state you're sending the money to will end up not using the money for anything. That is why I get worried. Good call by the president, but when the money comes, should these people decide to give us the money, where is the money going to go? And that is a major problem. And for these leaders who want to acquire so much wealth, like we've seen, you're saying that with Sir John, it could be this big. Someone's will could be as big as a Bible, and with property that only God knows how they acquired. But what future generations are you? People want to acquire wealth for unborn generations, 10 generations to come. If we don't build the country, which country would those people come and even inherit this property in? I don't know how our leaders think, but it is what it is.
I think that even Kwame Nkrumah, and in fact, the others who came after Nkrumah had taught the way or had behaved the way our recent leaders have behaved, maybe Ghana would have been non-existent. I think that perhaps they would have even sold the country. And I think it is just the poverty mentality. I was listening to somebody who was talking about the act of leadership, and that you measure your leadership by the number of people you are serving and not how many people are serving you, how many people you are empowering and not how much power you have. And I reflect on that and I say, look, we have leaders who think that they want to get all the money so that people can now serve them as kings and queens. And I think that it emanates from the poverty mentality, the slavery mentality, and so on. I just hope that one day we would have a leader who would say, look, I don't care if I'm going to go one term. If at the end of 4 years, people are going to get me out, so be it. I would want a situation where after I leave after 4 years, within a short possible time, people would start remembering me for what I did. Kwame Nkrumah was in power for how long? For just about 6 or so years.
We all remember him.
We were not born. You and I were not born. Several generations were not born. But today, we still talk, we still celebrate Kwame Nkrumah. If my father or my brother or my cousin were to be a president, that is the kind of advice I would give. I would want that after you leave, our family will be a proud family. Our family would be one that you go somewhere and they mention your surname as being associated with a former leader, and you are so proud.
Right.
I wouldn't be happy that my name were to be mentioned one day and it's about a very corrupt leader or somebody who occupied a state position and used it to amass wealth and so on and so forth. But that's not what we're seeing.
That's exactly what we're seeing. And I'll just wrap on this tangent with the bit about the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, which hopefully will be dealt with. It's going to be presented to Cabinet. And hopefully something will be done about that, because it talks about how public leaders shall declare their assets before assuming office. But since 1998, we found ways of going through the system. Act 550, if I'm correct, has given people a 6-month window. And what it means is some get in, and within the 6 months, they may declare, and others, most of them, will simply not declare because they know what they're going to do. Well, it is what it is. God have mercy on our country.
Well, interestingly, I think that all Ghanaians should watch out in the next, this week and the coming weeks. My colleagues working on our Fourth Estate project would be releasing data on appointees since 2013 who have declared their assets and who have not declared their assets. And you know, assets declaration is by law.
Right.
And I would expect that if, for example, any minister or any chief executive under the current regime is exposed as having not declared his or her assets, the president would fire them instantly. That would be my expectation. But as I said, all is set, and people should follow the Fourth Estate. And in the coming days and weeks, a lot of revelations are going to be made in terms of from the judiciary to the CEOs, to the ministers, and all of that. Ghanaians will get to know those who have declared their assets and those who haven't declared their assets.
Suleimana, be sure to share that list with me ahead of, so we can take a look at a few things. On the back page of the Daily Graphic, Kotoko Silence Mediama Atakwa, the Finder newspaper. Access Bank records impressive growth performance across key indicators. AFDB adopts 10-year strategic plan to revive African economies. Coa mixture to unlock $32 billion herbal medicines market for Ghana. That's according to the CEO. And Baumia loyalists win big. Picture there of Dr. Kangbere Bernard Ntribwesiako, that is Chairman Wuntumi, and Divine Otu Agohom, all of them, as well as Benjamin Ama. Those stories in the Finder newspaper. Let's do the Daily Guide now. And there's MP's boy caged over 800,000 Ghana cedi recruitment scam. Picture there of Prince Esiedu Efriye. That story is on page 6 of the paper. 5 gold robbers nabbed. Wuntumi others sweep regional NPP. And Ghana gets new cardinal. Yeah, that's one to celebrate. Let me go to page 6 for those stories. So there have been a number of cardinals that have been appointed in recent times. It says the story is on page 6, but this is a continuation. We also have, so I'll give you full details of that story. I actually have it somewhere on my phone as well. Aha, there it is. So Bishop Richard Kuya Bawabr from the Catholic Diocese of Y in the Upper West region, and pardon me, Your Grace, if I murdered your name, has been named among 21 new cardinals of the Catholic Church in Rome. So that's the story there. We have a new cardinal coming from our stock. We had Derry. We have now Peter Cardinal Turkson, and now we also have another one. But the other story I wanted to look at on page 6, an aide to the Member of Parliament for Echumanwabieja South constituency in the Ashanti region, Emmanuel Ajay Anhre, is cooling off in prison remand for engaging in a recruitment scam. He has been remanded into prison custody by the Inkawie Circuit Court, presided over by His Honor Nana Brew, for taking various sums of money from residents in the area, amounting to over 800,000 Ghana cedis, with the promise of recruiting them into the various security agencies. I feel, Suleimana, that this is one of the major threats to our security. This whole bit about people even scamming others or taking money to foist those people on us in our security services. We talk about the terrorist threat. I feel that in itself is part of the terrorist threat. I don't know what your take is.
No, absolutely. Over the years, the infiltration and the recruitment of unqualified persons, and people tell you about, sometimes even the quality of the trainings that people receive and pass out. It can be quite worrying, and it's a reflection of the ethical and moral decadence of our society, where everyone wants to make money quick. And again, when I talk about the fact that leadership matters and people say, the general Ghanaian attitude is not something that, that's true. But I think that it takes leadership to gradually build a certain moral fabric of society. If I am a leader and I'm conducting myself quite well, and my followers know, look, this is how things are going. If I do this, I may get into trouble. And they also begin to act well. Their followers would also follow suit, and it will cascade down. And so I think those of us who are in leadership positions have a lot to do. And until we are able to change the moral etiquette, the values, and so on, look, we should forget it. We would go down and down and down and down. But again, it takes a leader who would come and give us, that kind of leadership. Ministers will be afraid to do certain things. CEOs will be afraid to do certain things.
Right.
Directors will be afraid to do certain things. And the civil servants will be afraid to do certain things. And gradually, I'm sure that we would get there. Okay. And those of us in civil society, we are also leaders, and we need to also play our roles. And I would just want to also add on to the congratulatory message to the new cardinal. I think that is a very exciting news. I have always been applauding the Catholic Bishops' Conference, and I keep asking people, all these people who have served their Lord so loyally and faithfully to the point where they get to be appointed as cardinals, isn't it surprising that we don't have any of them saying, I am prophesying who will win the election, I'm prophesying who will die and who will not die, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And it is all those who one day just gets up and call themselves reverends and ministers and pastors and so on, who are the ones that God then decides to bless with those visions and all of that.
Right.
I think that Ghanaians need to also wake up and not allow themselves to be continuously deceived.
Right.
It's part of the problems that we have. I think religion is also another major area to look at.
Maybe not religion itself, but how we exercise or practice religion. Just as politics is not dirty, it is the practitioners who make it dirty. That's the problem. Whether Christianity or Islam, extremists or whatever, you read the Quran and you realize that it's saying one thing, and those who are also saying Sharia and I must do it this way and stone people and all of that are seeing something totally different. Anyway, wrapping with the next few stories. The Ghanaian Times captures a story because all the others are stories we've got into, so I'll just highlight this. Lawyer shot dead on Bole Bamboy Highway. It's reflected in Republic Press. So let me read what the Republic Press says on page 10. And here is why it's important to me. Was it really armed robbery or was it something else? Police in Bandankwanta in the Savannah region are on a manhunt for 3 armed robbers who shot dead a lawyer traveling from Accra to Drapa. Reports say upon reaching a section of the road, listen to this, between Bandankwanta and Nwayiri on the Bole Bamboy Highway, the robbers emerged from the nearby bush and signaled the vehicle in which the lawyer and his relatives were traveling to stop. There were other vehicles. They signaled this particular one to stop. One of the armed robbers immediately shot the driver of the vehicle, Richard Badombia, who is a lawyer with Latte, Badombia & Co. Associates, located opposite Roxy Cinema at Adabraka, Accra. The robber had asked whether the passengers on board were police officers. After shooting the lawyer, they tried to open the doors of the vehicle as the car had veered off the road and hit a tree. But a bulldog in the car barked at them and they bolted. Something doesn't make sense. They could have shot the others. They didn't. They went immediately for this lawyer. From what I gather, this lawyer has been critical of establishment. So, armed robbery or what would you call that? Assassination? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think these are very serious matters for us to speculate about. I would say, well, let's wait for police investigations.
Oh, definitely. I am not saying that what I am saying is the absolute truth. But just as with the situation to do with Ahmed Hussein Swale, I mean, till today, we don't know. Were those people sent or was it just coincidence?
Yeah, well, I would say that, well, we all have confidence in the new police administration. And again, talking about leadership, we see what leadership means in the appointment of Dr. Akufo-Dampare and the very short time that he's been in charge of the Ghana Police Service. We have had a few incidents here of concern in Koranza and so on. And I am so confident that given the leadership that we've experienced in Dr. Dampare, we would get to the bottom of those developments. I believe, and sincerely believe so, that if a police officer is really found culpable, I really doubt that the officer will be shielded. And matters like these, if indeed it happened to be an incident of assassination, I should think that the police administration will get to the bottom of the matter and unravel what is behind it so that we all get to see the truth and know the truth about it. I just hope that Dr. Dampare would continue to get the support and he would remain the Dampare that we know and provide the leadership that this country deserves as far as law enforcement is concerned.
All right, so Ghanaian publisher, BNFT, The Custodian, all reflecting stories we've already done. Maybe I'll just add this. My good old professor, Professor Stephen Ade, launches Gimpa storybook, two others. That story is on page 6 of the BNFT. But I'll wrap with you with maybe your thoughts on this in some 30 seconds and we can go. Law school elections at the Ghana School of Law and some of the things I have heard emanating from there. Interesting. The future lawyers and the things that are happening in there. But anyway, this is just me musing over some things. I think I've got to the point where not much surprises me in this country anymore. Not much surprises me anymore. Your final thoughts in some 30 seconds, and we're gone.
Well, I think that the moral decadence is everywhere. Everyone wants money. Leadership at all levels have been compromised and corrupted. We hear about NUC's elections, even university SLC elections. You know, it's all about politics, and NPP is behind this, NDC is behind this. Somebody swears himself in, another person goes to court, and all of that. And that should tell you that unless we reverse, unless we begin to do things right, the future of this country looks really, really bleak, because the people we have today as elders really have the morals and yet are leading us in a certain direction, and we are also copying blindly. And in the future, it will just be the survival of the fittest that will reign. That will be what this country will be running on. If you survive, if you are fit, you survive. Otherwise, no one cares about the other. It's about me and my family, and how much we can make, and that's all we are seeing. Okay. So let's continue to pray for this country. Let's do our best. You and I, let's continue to speak our mind, because as I said, there's nothing as fulfilling as being able to speak your mind. But you can only do so if yours is not sold, because if it is sold, it will be remote controlled. And every day when you open your mouth to speak, you'll be thinking how to please the buyer of your mind and your brain. And that's the most terrible thing to experience.
Inshallah, we shall continue this course. Thank you so much, Suleimana, for joining the conversation.
Thank you for having me. Have a great week.
I wish you same. And that is Suleimana Brahima, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. That's how we wrap the news review. But up next, we serve you sports. Stay.